We're all looking for that one big breakthrough, right? That giant leap forward. But what if the real secret to massive change wasn't some huge, earth-shattering event? What if it was actually something way smaller, something you could do every single day? Today, we're digging into the incredible power of 1,000 tiny steps.
So, what are we talking about here? We're talking about Kaizen. It's a Japanese philosophy, and the word itself basically means change for the better. But this is not about some big one-off project. It's a mindset. It's a culture, really, a deep-seated commitment to making these small, continuous improvements that just stack up over time and lead to unbelievable results. It's like a daily evolution.
And this quote from Taiichi Ohno, one of the brilliant minds behind Kaizen at Toyota, it just completely flips the script on how we usually think. It gets right to the heart of the matter. If you think your process is perfect, that's not a good sign. It's a sign you've stopped looking. Kaizen is all about being a little bit dissatisfied with how things are right now.
So before we jump into the practical tools and all that, it's so important to get this. Kaizen is a philosophy first. It's a whole new way of seeing the world and the work that you do every single day. And here are the core ideas, and they are just fantastic. Kaizen isn't about throwing millions of dollars at new technology. It's all about what they call zero investment improvement. I love that. It's about using the brain power and the creativity of the people who are actually doing the work. When you empower your frontline teams to make small changes, you get more than just better processes. You get people who are way more engaged and motivated.
Okay, so if you want to make things better, you first have to know what you're fighting against. And in the world of Kaizen, the #1 enemy is waste. But we're not just talking about obvious stuff like tossing out materials. Oh no, there are these hidden wastes that are silently killing your efficiency. The philosophy breaks this down into what's known as the 3 M's. Now, most people only ever see Muda. That's the obvious waste, waiting around, fixing defects. But Kaizen forces you to go deeper. It targets Mura, which is all about inconsistency that creates bottlenecks, and Muri, which is about overburdening your people and your equipment.
And honestly, this focus on Muri, on overburden, is what makes Kaizen so incredibly powerful. This isn't just about spreadsheets and efficiency. It is deeply human. The philosophy recognizes that you can't have sustainable improvement if your people are stressed out and burning out. It's simple. A healthy, respected team is the bedrock of a healthy, high-quality process.
All right, so we get the philosophy and we know the enemy we're fighting. So how do we actually put this into practice? Well, it all starts with a simple but really powerful toolkit for change.
The engine that drives this whole thing forward is this structured, repeatable cycle. It's the thing that turns the beautiful philosophy of getting better every day into a concrete, actionable process that literally anyone can follow.
It's called the PDCA cycle. Plan, do, check, and adjust. First, you plan an improvement and figure out how you're going to measure success. Then, you just do it. But then, and this part is critical, you check the data. Did it actually work? Finally, you adjust. If it worked, great. That's the new standard. If it didn't, you learn from it, and you start the cycle all over again. It's just this relentless, beautiful loop of refinement.
But here's the catch. You can't improve a process that's total chaos. You need a stable foundation to build on. And that is where another key tool comes in, the 5S methodology. It's all about creating a super organized workspace where problems have literally nowhere to hide. The 5 steps are so simple, but don't let that fool you. You sort out everything you don't need. You set everything else in a logical place. You shine the workspace, which is actually a clever way of inspecting things. Then you standardize the rules so it stays that way, and, maybe the hardest part, you sustain the discipline to make it a real habit. This creates the solid ground for every improvement you make after.
And this brings us to an idea in Kaizen that is so important it might just bend your brain a little. When you find a better way of doing things and you standardize it, that is not the finish line. Nope, that's the new starting line for the next improvement. It's how you lock in your gains and make sure you never slide backward.
So, we have the philosophy, we have the tools, but what's the one thing that makes it all click? What's the secret ingredient? Well, it comes down to leadership, and it's all about the simple act of going to see the work for yourself.
In a Kaizen culture, leaders don't manage by reading reports from a corner office. They go to the Gemba. It's a Japanese word that means the real place. The factory floor, the nurse's station, the call center, wherever the real work actually happens and value is created.
This quote from a former Toyota chairman, Fujio Cho,
Just says it all, doesn't it? Go see, ask why, show respect. A Gemba walk isn't about catching people making mistakes. It's a practice of observation, of curiosity, and it's all built on a foundation of deep respect for the people doing the work.
The whole point here is to understand what's really going on, not to point fingers. When leaders show up, observe without judging, and ask good questions, they create what's called psychological safety. And that is absolutely essential, because if people are too scared to point out problems, your whole system of continuous improvement just falls apart.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, this all sounds great for car manufacturing, since Kaizen was born at Toyota. But the truth is, these principles are totally universal. They can be applied to pretty much any industry you can think of.
Just look at this. In a hospital, Kaizen is used to slash patient wait times or make safety protocols even better. In a hotel, maybe it's used to make the check-in process smoother or improve how the teams talk to each other to give guests a better experience. The tools are exactly the same. The only thing that changes is how you define value and waste.
So when a whole organization really buys into this way of thinking, the benefits are just massive. And it goes way beyond efficiency and quality. It leads directly to higher morale because people feel heard and empowered, and better safety because, let's be honest, a well-organized, respected process is always a safer one.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. Machines, systems, software, none of that can improve itself. Evolution takes human ingenuity. At its core, Kaizen is a fundamental belief in the power of people to make things better, one tiny step at a time.
And that leaves us with one last question to think about. Whether it's at your job, in your team, maybe even in your personal life, just think about it for a second. Where could one small, continuous change make the biggest possible difference for you?